Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are pushing the federal government to release more information related to UFO sightings and other unidentified aerial phenomenon, also known as UAPs. Today, the House Oversight Subcommittee on National Security dug into this issue during a hearing on Capitol Hill featuring David Grusch, a whistleblower who has accused the government of withholding information related to UFOs.
The other two key witnesses were Ryan Graves, the executive director of Americans for Safe Aerospace, and retired Commander David Fravor, the former commanding officer of the Navy's Black Aces Squadron. Here's Congresswoman Nancy Mace questioning whistleblower David Grusch at the hearing. Let's watch.
Do you believe our government has made contact with intelligent extraterrestrials?
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, BIOLOGICS came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
Here's Grusch saying people have actually been hurt in their efforts to cover up extraterrestrial technologies, but would not answer if people have been murdered. Let's watch.
Do you have any personal knowledge of people who have been harmed or injured in efforts to cover up or conceal these extraterrestrial technology?
Yes. Personally.
Have anyone been murdered that you would think, that you know of or have heard of, I guess?
I have to be careful asking that question. I directed people with that knowledge to the appropriate authorities.
Creator of the Black Vault, John Greenewald Jr., joins us now to help dig into key moments from this testimony. Welcome, John.
I appreciate that. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Great to have you. What did you make of the disclosures today at the hearing?
You know, it was a lot of going back and talking about the importance of UAP, flight safety concerns, and all of that is of paramount importance. We have to look at this topic. It's something that's been around for decades. It's one that can't be explained. It's well documented with evidence and U.S. government files that has come out, and we can prove that. But it's time to turn up the heat a little bit. I think that we need to get the agency heads in those seats. The witnesses today, I think, did a great job. Ryan Graves and David Fravor, I think, brought a lot to the table. They were excellent with their testimony. David Grusch was as well, but I'm a little bit more skeptical about the explosive nature of the claims that he's bringing forward. So what we need to do is essentially have the people that are feeding him that information and get them in the seat and turn up the heat there and ask important questions and get this out to the general public.
Yeah, it sounds like he's interviewed over 40 witnesses over the past 4 years and has enough detailed information that he knows where UAPs were recovered, that there are over a dozen spacecraft, and even that there was some non-human, biological remains taken from some of these spacecraft. What do you make of the claims that, some of the UAPs were piloted?
Yeah, I mean, that's an explosive claim. We need to dig into that. But again, these are stories that he's heard, he's come forward with. And look, I don't really have reason to believe that he's sitting there lying and manufacturing this. But where I want to, what I'd love to see is Congress to dig in more of that, dig into that background. Now, I know that this is an important first step, and many will argue this is a step process that they need to, essentially start here and go from there. But let's face it, I mean, the explosive nature of these claims is literally humanity changing. And I think that the people that Grusch talked to that brought him those claims, those are the ones that need to sit in front of this committee. And although today was great, we've had these hearings now. We've had government reports that have already locked in the importance of UAP, the safety concerns, and how it needs to be dealt with. So we've established that foundation is solid. It's time to move forward because there's more explosive things to look at. And if we can dismiss those, if there's nothing to it, then let's do that. But focus on these phenomena. It is real, and go from there and take appropriate action and ask appropriate questions.
Yeah, as David Grusch acknowledged in his answer to Congresswoman Nancy Mace, he had this huge claim, which, if substantiated, would be one of the most important discoveries ever made on the planet, that there are non-human bodies of non-humans recovered with these crafts. That was a claim he made today during the hearing, but he had made earlier when being interviewed on News Nation on our sister network. So the question then becomes, he's saying that he can't say the names of the people who have the firsthand knowledge in front of Congress, but he can tell them privately. There was a lot of conversation of a skiff. I don't know if you want to give viewers more information about what that actually is. The secure room. Sure. Where he could provide that information. Is that something that could actually happen now? Is the initiative on Congress to follow through?
I mean, I would hope so. Yeah. In brief, a skiff is a facility that they can go in and share classified information. Obviously, cell phones are left outside, and it's a facility that can't be monitored for having these types of sensitive conversations. So I hope that happens. Representative Burchett had said that they were denied access to a skiff and they're not allowed to talk to them. So there's a layer of secrecy here that is, for some, impenetrable, it seems like. And we need to get beyond that. There needs to be change so that the appropriate people can hear the claims by David Grusch that he couldn't address in the public setting today, and then take action on it.
And they couldn't. He couldn't clarify. What the they here we're talking about with the agencies that are doing the gatekeeping here. Do you have any idea of who these agencies are that we're talking about?
Yeah, in my opinion, there's quite a few that are gatekeeping Department of Defense as a whole. I mean, away from David Grusch's claims, there is a very provable history with documented evidence officially released through the Freedom of Information Act of a cover-up that has lasted decades. And even though we are hearing about UAPs more, and they're talking about UFOs, and they're even researching them and investigating them inside the DoD through the Aero office, the secrecy has strengthened in the last couple of years, not loosened. And so there is something about these phenomena that whatever they are, whatever the root of it is, they do not want us to know the truth behind it. And I would love to see, again, some of those agency heads in that hot seat. The Department of Defense's Inspector General is one of the top of the list, in my opinion, that should be in there. For the last couple of years, they've run what they call an evaluation on UAP within the IG's office there, looking at how the DoD has handled UAP as a whole. Where is an update on that? It's been going on literally for a couple of years now. Let's ask, where are you at? Have you looked at any of these more explosive claims? Why is there this secrecy? Why are you ignoring much of this that has been around for decades? Now, arguably, they are dealing with it now, but their response is, well, we don't really have anything of great importance to report. Paraphrasing there, but that's essentially what they're saying. On the contrary, there's documented evidence that shows this stuff can't be explained. And I think that's where Graves and Fravor's testimony is paramount, but they sit on the top of a bigger pile of evidence already there. So let's get those agency heads in there and start grilling them with the same type of heat that we've seen in other hearings outside the UFO arena.
John, you posted your ideal witness set up for this hearing on Twitter. Do you want to explain that for us?
Of course, yeah. And again, I want to just stress that the witnesses today, especially Graves and Fravor, are paramount to this conversation. So I'm glad they're there. I don't want to take away from that. But I did put together kind of a dream list of people to sit in that hot seat and get questioned by a committee like this and not have it last 90 minutes, but literally days. And why I say that is there are a lot of layers to this onion. And you don't need to talk about leaks or anonymous sources that are telling me this, but rather use the government's own evidence to prove this is something of astronomical, pardon the pun, importance to deal with, not only from a safety hazard position, but also something that humanity should know a little bit more of. And that list of people are those that are completely tied to the secrecy that has lasted for decades and strengthened in the last couple of years. The IG for the DoD I've already mentioned, but also the Inspector General for the intelligence community. I think he would be high on the list because David Grusch with the information that he's come out with and the claims that he's made, hearing from other people. What has the ICIG done so far? And I think even though the investigation is still ongoing and there's a lot that they likely can't share, put him in that hot seat and make it known that Congress, that are representing the voice of the people, need to know, is Grusch telling the truth? Again, my skepticism aside, it doesn't matter. He should be under oath, and the inspector generals that have heard this now for well over a year or two should be questioned and find out, what have you guys done with potentially humanity altering information? And if there's nothing there, let's hear it. If there's something there, let's hear it. And if they have to go behind closed doors, well, fine, do it. But the time is now. I mean, we can't just have these beginning points and starting points, because in my opinion, we've already had multiple starting points. That foundation on the importance of this topic is there. So let's move forward.
Creator of the Black Vault, John Greenewald Jr., thank you so much for breaking this down with us. We'll continue to cover the issue.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.